welcome to the On to the Next podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa, and I am so happy you are here. If you are watching on YouTube, you see I have a little guest with me today. Everyone, let's give a warm welcome to Miss Joelle Velez. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thanks for being here. Joelle, can you tell the people who you are?
Yeah, so like Alyssa said, my name's Joelle Velez. I am a writer, actor, filmmaker, producer, multi-hyphenate. I do a lot of things, and I am just so happy to be here.
Period. Thank you. Also, I feel like I'm like talking extra quiet today. I woke up with some swollen glands.
That's real.
So, and also I had no voice 2 days ago, so I was really prepping for today.
Yeah.
So I apologize in advance. We'll just do a little ASMR moment. I feel like I'm extra like enunciating.
For the seasonal allergies.
Yeah, literally. Oh my gosh. Well, Joelle, thank you for being here. Joelle and I have worked together on a project recently back in 2024. So I had to have her on the pod, knowing that she is a girl boss in the industry, and I'm excited to learn more about you.
Coming from a girl boss.
Thanks. So I'm excited to have, to learn more about your journey and everything too, because I only met you a couple of years ago.
Right.
So there's lots to learn throughout that process.
Yes.
But before we get fully into it, can you tell the people what era are you in right now?
It's funny you ask because
you're like, I've been dying for this.
Actually, no, literally the other day I was like, I'm in my black and white era.
Ooh, what is that?
So I was thinking about it. I don't know if it's like the seasonal change or whatever, but usually I dress really colorful and I have like a lot of color pops.
Yeah.
And in the winter, I've just been feeling like dressing like in a lot of black and white. Part of my inspiration is Janelle Monáe because she's like black and white everything.
Cute.
She does like the full suits, which I've always loved, that kind of like mask femme energy, like that balance. And I was thinking about it, and I feel like it's kind of for me like an internal balance, like the black and the white. I don't know, it feels like because the winter has been a little bit like dark and depressing in Chicago, which if you're in Chicago, you know that. And for me, I don't know, there's something about like kind of acknowledging like that dark sometimes exists and is real, but also the lightness is, I don't know, an inherent part of that. It's like what they say that the lightness can't exist without the darkness. Yeah. So for me, I don't know, it's kind of like accepting that that is like where I'm at right now and it's okay. And also being like embracing it and being like, yeah, it's just like what I'm doing right now. So I don't know, I'm feeling like.
That's like really poetic though.
Thank you.
And what's funny is I literally, if you look back on every episode, I somehow always match my guest. And it's never
in your black and white.
Never spoken about, I promise. Today I had an idea. I was like, I'm going to wear this like blue like thing my sister made me. It was like a bright blue and I put it on and I was like, this is not like, let's wait for spring for this. Like I was not down. I was just not in it. My swollen glands. I was like, I don't have time for this. So I put just like, a little moment on and I'm like, wait, I'm going to wear this weekend. Or like change the pants up. But if you're listening, I'm also wearing black and white accidentally.
I'm wearing like a little black and white fluffy floral number.
Yeah,
imagine if you will.
Whatever that means to you. But I like that. It also kind of reminded me, I've been really back into my Amy Winehouse era. Yes. And when you said black and white, I'm like, you mean black? Oh my God.
Back to black. Yes, totally.
So I understand sometimes. I think growing up too, I'm learning how many phases you can have.
Totally.
And how one day could be one and the other day could be something else. Yeah. So I understand because I agree, like you're usually always so colorful. I literally was going to wear the bright blue because I'm like, oh, she'll probably wear like some like obnoxious color because like that's what I like how we dress very like I think we both dress kind of like different eras.
Literally,
like two.
Because for my birthday, my friends got me these like bright orange earrings.
Yeah.
Because they were like, I showed up and they were like, we knew you were going to be wearing bright orange.
Yeah.
I was like, there you go.
Yeah. So that's so funny how we both like had the thought process in a weird way.
Yeah. And I feel like it's just kind of like embracing that and being like, it's okay. Like, it's just kind of like part of the flow of life. And like,
totally.
It doesn't always have to be like colorful and poppy. Like it can be like, you can change and that's okay. And there's like, it doesn't mean anything or like, I don't know, just kind of like embracing that part of yourself that's like trying to express itself in that way.
Totally.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah. And we're also like at the end of January, so it's like now's the time to wear all your dark colors.
Yes, it's like summer come.
Yeah.
Where are you? We miss you.
Literally, yes. Ugh, okay. Well, also I like your nails, by the way.
Thanks. I just got them done. I had this really heinous, fugly ass manicure before. And I was like, I can't come on the pod with,
oh my
with
God. That. I know. I literally like plan. I'm like, oh, how many episodes will I do in this nail color?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, Joelle. So, can we go back to? Let's do little Joelle. What was she like?
God.
Were you always in the industry? What kind of transpired to like be where you are today?
Oh my gosh. Little Joelle was a ham. She was a holiday ham. I started acting when I was 5.
Okay.
I was in a church play, like they call it a passion play. And I told someone that once and they were like, what does that mean?
Oh my God, I
was like, it's about Jesus. Relax. It's okay. So, my church used to do a production every year. It was called The Thorn. And it was about Jesus coming back to life and all that. And my mom told me this, that like they had an audition for the girl who would be like the little dead girl that Jesus resurrects. And apparently I like pushed my way to the front of the line. And I was like, me.
Oh,
and so I got the part because I just popped. And I guess it was just like one of those things that I like couldn't keep myself back from, was like just acting and being like super expressive. And so my mom saw that and was like, we got to channel that energy. Aww. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And so she put me into performing arts school, which was like amazing. Such a cool blessing. So I grew up, in the theater, doing like musical theater, dance, jazz. Like I play bass. I dabble in piano very lightly. Yeah. So I was like really, really lucky and blessed that I kind of got like a classical arts training as a kid.
Yeah.
And then when I went to school, I kind of like, it was a weird thing. Like, I think because I grew up in Colorado, I never really saw like a career for what it looks like to be like a successful working artist. Because there's just not really that industry where I grew up.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't know, I think life hit me and I got really afraid. And I was like, dang, I don't know about this. Like, I went to school for acting and the program just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Okay. And so I ended up studying economics instead. Well, not instead, but in tandem. Yeah. And I ended up getting my major in economics with the theater in the background. And so I went into a career in finance, which was crazy because like at the time I also was learning about, okay, here's the thing. It's okay to have multiple interests. Yeah. Like, and I feel like we have to like put ourselves in a box, one thing or the other. But I don't think I would be who I am today if I hadn't gone into the finance field, because I was really interested in this thing called responsible investing, which I won't get into the nitty gritty of, but it's like putting money toward businesses that are trying to make the world a better place. Okay. Which I think is really cool. And I was like super passionate about that. So I did that for many years and I was super into it. And the people that I was working with weren't loving me that much because it was like these super like 1%er. I can imagine. Yeah, like finance bros. And they were like, who is this girl? Why and you're like,
like all poppy, coming to work in pink. Exactly. They're like, get this girl out of here.
So literally. So I was like, oh my God, I'm miserable. I hate this. Yeah. So then the pandemic happened and I was like, girl, if I'm dying tomorrow, I'm not dying as a finance bro. That ain't it for me.
Oh my God, that was a reality check.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people had that. A lot of people were like, what am I doing with my life? This is crazy. So I moved to Chicago. My husband's from out here. So we came out here together. Yes. And then I saw the Second City and I was like, oh, I know the Second City, that famous little place that is just located in Chicago. Yeah. I started taking classes there and then I got into the film school, which was like super cool. And then it just like, I don't know, it was like all the pressure from wanting to be an artist again just exploded. Aww. And I just like took off into it and I started acting again. I started making my own films. Yeah. And that led me to Dream Team, which has been such a blessing too. And so since then I've been like full back into the swing of being an artist for about 2 years now. Yeah. And I'm so much happier.
Aw, that's amazing.
It's like my true calling.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I've noticed this past year for me too, like even if I'm not maybe excelling financially in this world, there's other ways to monetize as a creative. Definitely. And I'd rather be happy and like at peace knowing I'm in my right space, on the come up of building myself and my brand than working in like a 9-to-5 or working in a career that isn't my true calling, like you said.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of actors or just creatives in general kind of have that humbling thing of like working the 9 to 5 or like having to be in that space where you just feel so close-minded.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, you need to do that to pay the bills, but I also think I do find the beauty. Like, I know you do. Are you still at your job?
No, serving? I got laid off, which was like, woohoo, thanks.
Oh, I was gonna say, I was like, I know a lot of actors like serve and stuff too.
Oh yeah, I'm a bartender, but like I don't even like think about that. Like, it's just so minor. Like, when I have to go in, I'm like, oh, I forgot I have a job.
But that is a career though, where like doing serving or whatever, like you are still like putting on a show in a sense.
Yeah, totally.
And you're you're watching these customers, you're getting ideas for characters, you're finding little bits to copy and mimic and having your little actor tool belt of a character you could play. So like that's still a creative space to be a part of.
I agree. Yeah, and it's nice too because it's like you don't have to take the work home with you.
Yeah,
like
totally.
You can just like clock out and then you're done.
Yeah,
you don't have to deal with it.
That's so true.
Yeah,
I didn't even think of that part of it. Yeah, well, I think all that's like really special, especially knowing like how you said earlier, like you had a backing in some way with your family, like supporting you, which is like game changing. And you being from Colorado and finding your way out to Chicago was beautiful. Did you? Where was your college in Colorado?
It was in Ohio, so I went to Oberlin College. Shout out to the albino squirrels and the yeoman. I know, they're the weirdest mascots.
That's hilarious.
I know, it's so random. What was the question? I got caught up with this.
You're like overstimulated. I was gonna say because did you move out here because your husband was out here and
That's
it was also
right.
an actor's hub?
Yeah.
So it kind of worked out.
No, it totally did. And like when I was a kid, I actually always wanted to live in Chicago.
Aww.
I don't know if it's because my favorite musical is Chicago.
I was gonna say, was it from Chicago the musical?
Honestly, yeah,
that's cute.
Which is like I write in the style of that musical too. Like I have this feature film that I wrote that has like some references to that too.
Cute.
So like I just always like Chicago was always my dream city.
Yeah.
And I made it out here and I love it here so much.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
And how is it balancing like, you know, did you meet your husband in college? And I'm guessing.
Yes. My husband is my babe. So yeah, we met in college. I was on the Frisbee team.
The Frisbee team?
Yes.
That's so niche. Okay, continue.
Okay, so my college did not have like sororities or anything. The closest thing that we had was literally the Frisbee team. So I know, and when I first got there, I like wasn't making any friends because I was like kind of shy, and my sister was like, "You got to join a sports team. That's how it's gonna be."
Sports team was Frisbee,
and it was Frisbee, and it was low key like the official. He's gonna be so mad because he feels like he was on the rugby team. He feels like rugby was the official sport. My darling, I love you so much, but it was Frisbee. So yeah, my sister was like, "Join this team. You need friends," and I was like, "Okay." And so yeah. So I was on the Frisbee team. He was on the rugby team. It was like a match made in heaven. And so we met at a party, like a mixer party. And he came up to me and, well, actually, no, I came up to him because he was DJing.
Oh,
and he was,
my God. It's not the DJ.
And I was like, hey, this song is trash.
You just instantly start shit talking.
No, totally. That's my game.
He's like, let's get it.
Exactly. I was like, this ain't it, baby. And I was like, can you put on some Drake? Because that was it at the time. It was Drake.
Of course. Yeah.
And he was like, okay. And he's like, oh, he always gets mad with how I tell this version of the story. But whatever.
His version was probably so different.
Yeah, exactly. So he knew
funny.
my name. And I was like, oh, you know my name? I don't know yours. I was so shady. Or was it the other way around?
Making him work for it.
I really was. That was my game. I was just like so hard to get. I was like, oh, I don't know who you are.
What's your name again?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then some things clicked at the party. I'll let y'all fill in the blanks. And then we started, well, not really, because after we first met, I was like, he was so funny. He was like, I wouldn't give him my number.
Okay.
But I had lost my phone, and he was like, oh, well, let me call it for you.
That's actually kind of clever.
Yeah, no.
Wait, did you actually lose your phone?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. No, that's another. Okay.
It was somewhere in the streets.
Oh my God.
And so he was like, I'll call it for you. And I was like, okay. And then I didn't realize he was getting my number.
Oh my God.
And I was like, okay, you got my number, but like, I'm not going to text you.
This poor boy. How old were you guys?
Let's see. I think we were like 19 or 20.
Okay.
So we were babies. Yeah. And he was like, okay. And then I texted him like right away.
Yeah, okay, I'm over it. The game's over. I already.
I know. Right?
Yeah, at that point, exactly. You already went too far. So it's like, whatever.
Yep. And then he helped me study for my economics classes.
Oh my God.
And I was in a play at the time. And he was like helping me memorize my lines.
Aw.
And then I was like, okay, I got to lock this down. Like,
okay, game's over. Let's make this serious.
Exactly. And I'm getting like all flustered.
I know, you're so cute. You're like blushing.
Yeah. And then he became my boyfriend. And then like literally the rest is history because we just like haven't parted since that.
Oh my gosh. That's so sweet.
So apparently the game playing works. Ladies.
Girls, just be kind of rude in the beginning, and then they will be infatuated.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I think there's just like, this is so silly, but like there's totally something to being like, oh, you want this, you can have it.
Oh, yeah, because it's a game.
Yeah, exactly.
And then once they get it, it's like, okay, dope. And then you kind of always keep them on their toes, though.
Literally that part.
The next 10 years or however long.
Because I stay messing with him, and I'm like, I'm just keeping you on your toes, baby.
You would get bored.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That is so funny. I literally, anytime I like part ways from a boy, I'm like, they just lost a lifetime of free entertainment. Like, that's on them. Like, I'm chilling.
That is so funny.
I stay entertaining myself, but they just lost that like full-time production. that they didn't even have to fucking pay for.
Like, you would have so much fun for life. That's on you.
Yeah, I think that's like my new way of looking at it. It's like so funny.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of true. No, okay.
No, it is. It is. Like, date an actress were fun.
Yeah. So, is he in the industry at all?
No, he is a supportive husband. Like,
great.
Yeah, and he's like, this is awesome. Like, he is my sugar daddy now, and people are like, he's not your sugar daddy, he's your husband. And I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. But
it's fun saying that you're getting
right.
Yeah,
exactly. It's just fun. But it's cool because when I was working in finance, he was working in nonprofits.
Okay.
So I was kind of the breadwinner.
Okay.
And we did that for like many years.
Yeah.
And when I decided that I was super miserable and like wanted to transition into being a filmmaker and being an actress, he was just like, I have been waiting for you to ask. I'm so ready to support you. And actually the one who had the hardest time with it was me.
Yeah.
Because I like, my mom's Puerto Rican. She was always like, you're going to be an independent woman.
Yeah. No, literally.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, I'm so uncomfortable with you being like the supporter, not because it's you, but because of me. Like, you know, I just don't want to give up that level of control.
Totally.
Because I just like, for me, like financial security is very important.
Yeah.
Right. So he was like all game for it and was like, go for it. Like, pursue your dreams. And I was like,
yeah.
So now he is the breadwinner and he supports me, which again, it's like, I'm just so blessed because so many people don't have that, which really sucks.
Yeah.
And it's just, I can't, like, I wouldn't be able to do this without him supporting me in that way. So it's really like, I'm so, Joey, I love you, baby. Thank you.
You're like, here's my shout out. Yeah. What you're doing as well.
You're doing it, babe. And he also, like, he is so supportive on set too. Like, he's the one who loads the gear into the car. Like,
okay, yeah, because you're also not only acting, but you're like producing, which is a big deal.
Right, and like people don't understand how much equipment there is for film stuff.
Yeah,
it's insane. Like if you're not in the film industry, like it's not just the camera, it is like all these big heavy stands that all are like made of metal and weigh like 70 pounds.
And everything's also so expensive, so you can't drop it. It can't, you know, if it's in the water, if it rains or snows, like you slip. Like there's so many like liabilities to it.
Absolutely.
And depending on the price, like you don't have the money to drop another $4,000 when something drops or whatever. Yeah, totally.
Or like rent a nice car that you can fit it all in. Like God, I'm fitting all that stuff in my RAV4.
And it's fucking working.
And it is working. I love that car.
Reliability though.
For real.
No, I know. We had a RAV4. I mean, my sister still has one actually.
Oh,
but,
hell yeah.
We upgraded recently, but we had like the OG RAV4.
Yeah, me
that
too. Yeah.
car was holding like all of our lives in that.
Literally.
That trunk is a lot of space, so flat out. Sponsor me. Toyota RAV4.
This is actually a RAV4 commercial.
Oh my God, I wish. That's so cute. So because I agree, like, as a woman too, like, I have always I was always told by both parents, like, you have to be good on your own, like, make your own money, like, whatever. Like, what have you done to, like, release, like, obviously there's a lot of trust, I feel like, within him, like, he's not going to take advantage of you or hold this over you, like, in terms of, like, him supporting you right now. So, like, how have you, like, released those fears or those worries to be able to, like, fully own the fact that, like, yeah, you're creating and you're getting some side money, you know, throughout the process, but, like, the lifestyle change, I guess.
Totally. That is such a good question. And I feel like that's such a big barrier for a lot of people to really commit to their dreams is the money. Because it's so unsure. It's like we're like gig workers, you know.
Totally.
And we have all of the, like, I'm going to walk some dogs tomorrow, you know, like a bunch of random hustles. I feel like one was really just letting go of the control. I didn't realize I'm kind of a control freak. I didn't know that. Because I'm like pretty like, I'm like a Sagittarius moon. I'm kind of like loosey-goosey sometimes.
Yeah, you can
goofy.
be chill and whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But parts of me are super like, I have to know my plan, otherwise I'm going to lose it. And so, yeah, it was like, I feel like the first part was just trusting, like, it's going to be okay. And I actually think a lot of it was really about believing in myself, because that kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier with growing up in Colorado. I just didn't really like see this as a real career path. And I think I just realized at a point, though, like, my happiness actually depends on me doing what I love and doing what I really want to. And at this point, like, I got to risk it for the biscuit, and I just got to go for it. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, because, like, I think it's like what you said, like, with COVID and everything, like, you really only have now. So it's like, if I don't do it today, in 10 years, I might not be able to, or I might not have the time or the heart for it, or, like, the drive or whatever, life, because life comes in the way too, being a creative and stuff.
Yes, exactly. So just, like, trusting the universe. And I have found that the more that I trust the universe and the more that I, like, walk my path in a way where I'm, like, going to get it. Like, there is no, like, oh, what if it doesn't work out? It's like gonna work out. The more that money does come, opportunities do come, like, the more that you go for it, the more the universe meets you. Yeah. Which is crazy because you don't see that until you do it. Totally. And it's so hard to believe in that, you know?
Yeah, it's a mindset. I'm a big believer of that. I've always believed in it, but I think going to college and, like, realizing, like, I am, like, in charge of my own, like, fate in that sense. I really, like, strongly believe in the universe, and I think not only that, but it's, like, a feeling within me that, like, I cannot explain. Totally. And I've tried to break it down to people, and they're just like, what? Like, you were literally delusional. And I'm like, maybe, but that's why I'm fucking doing it. Literally. Like, yeah, no, and thankfully, like, thank God, like, I have my mom who's, like, super on that too, like, with the universe, and not even, like, that's separate. We're not trying to, you know, personify the universe into God or whatever you believe in, but it's like, I believe in, like, the law of attraction and the abundance, you know, mindset, and, like, believing what's yours, you know, is yours, and your highest version of yourself has it. It's just like how your moves are what obtain it. Yes. And what allow it to come in. Absolutely. So I totally, like, understand that. Yeah. And I think as an actor, or as a creative in any industry, or as an entrepreneur, or anyone in this world that, you know, kind of takes the scarier path that isn't as traditional, for the lack of better words, has to have some of that in them to believe in themselves to make it happen. Definitely. So that's a beautiful point that you bring up in that whole, like, journey that you had to experience.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think also taking the positives of, you know, the dog walking days or the Uber Eats days, like, when you kind of do the little side hustles, right? Because it also adds so much character, and it builds grit.
Right. And you're like, is what you said earlier about, like, you get character ideas, you get whatever. Like, it's true, because I was walking these dogs over the summer, and something about the neighborhood reminded me of one of my old creative spots in Colorado. Okay. Like, it was just, like, the setting, like, the leaves were just kind of, like, warm and dewy. Aww. And, like, the flowers were out, and it reminded me of this garden in this place in Colorado where I used to sing opera. Small flex.
I'll say what?
And, like, it was like this old, like, mining town where there's, like, this really historic opera house that's, like, this really prestigious, like, young arts training program. And I used to go there every summer, and we would, like, do this whole program and everything. And while I was on the dog walk, it just triggered that memory for me. And then I was like, you know what? I want to go back there. Like, my universe artist instinct is telling me to go back there. And I did. I treated myself. I took myself there for my birthday.
Aww.
And I like hit up this historian who was out there because I'm a writer and
Period.
I'm working on this new story. It's a ghost story.
Ooh.
And it's set in an opera house, and I promise it's not the Phantom of the Opera.
Oh my God, that's funny. I didn't even put the two together.
I will not write Phantom of the Opera. It's a love triangle too, but it's not Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
And so I went back there and I like hit up this historian and I was like, hey, I'm researching ghost stories in the opera house. And he was like, well, I happen to be the property manager as well. And I was like, well, you know, I'm a filmmaker too. And so there's this opportunity now for me to go shoot a movie out there.
I was going to say, did you film out there? Or is
I'm
that
working
the next
on it,
steps?
So that's my next project, hopefully, is going to be in August, going to Colorado. So it's like, it's just so true. And it's like what you said about, you know, these things, they aren't like detracting from your career. Like if you just kind of let it all like work with itself, kind of like what I was saying with the black and white, like the balance.
Yeah.
It might not be like your passion dream gig, but who knows who you'll meet or like what ideas you'll have there.
Totally. I've been in the craziest spaces and I've met the craziest people or connections in the best way possible, and it's like just putting yourself out there and like just believing in it and like not having expectations. I think having expectations can sometimes ruin or cloud your judgment.
Definitely.
And maybe almost diminish your experience because it wasn't what you thought it would be. But I think there's something important with like really just trusting the process.
I agree with that totally.
Yeah. So what are you working on now? Or what do you want to share? Like what have you done? Let's give a little plugs of what's going on with you.
I'm so excited. So this year I am focusing on acting and writing and then producing the things that I write so I can act in them.
Hey, that is the way to go.
That's the hustle, baby. So a good friend of mine, Cecilia Romo, she's in California. She's my homie. We are writing a web series together. It's her film that I got to act in last year. And I am totally obsessed with like her whole like vision and everything. And she invited me to be a writer with her, which is super cool. So we're developing that as a web series together. And I'm working on this movie that I just mentioned, my like Colorado ghost story. Yeah. I'm still figuring out if it's going to be like a web series or a pilot. I'm trying to make a bigger production because I've done 2 short films, and I'm definitely interested in doing another short film, but I want to make a feature film soon. Yeah. So I'm thinking of doing kind of like a series, what do they call it? A proof of concept? Yeah. So that I can get more funding to make that. And so that's exciting. And then in the meantime, I am kind of like thinking about my own talk show. I have this show. It's called The Joelle Show. I wonder who it's named after. And it's like kind of like a John Oliver kind of thing. Cute. That's funny. I like John Oliver is really funny. Yeah. And it's like supposed to use humor to explain like what's going on with the economy. Okay. Because I do have that
finance
background.
Girly.
Exactly. And when I was working in finance, I was always really frustrated with how like inaccessible that information was. Yeah. I just felt like there was kind of like not like an intentional way of holding people from understanding what's going on with the news and the economy, but there's all these words that are like unnecessarily complex that I'm like, what if we just use like dollar instead of currency, you know, like something like that. Yes. So that's my little talk show where I try to make like big complex ideas more digestible, make it like bite-sized pieces and make it funny so that people also feel like, oh my God, I don't have to watch something super depressing. I can laugh while I'm like taking in information.
Oh my God, I love that. You just reminded me, first of all, I think there's so much beauty in Gen Zs and millennials for like being able to like make everything a joke. Exactly. And I feel like I learn more when I'm seeing it like almost portrayed like sarcastically because it's like, wait, why are we doing, like, why do we agree to this? Like, this doesn't make any sense or whatever. And I, for about a year, have been brewing a concept of something I want to create.
What is it?
And I haven't said it before, so you'll get, because you just reminded me of it, and you probably would like do well with this too. I want to create like, I don't know if it's like a show, like a stand-up show, or like not stand-up, but like a show, or if it's like a little web series of basically like Gen Zs and millennials like reenacting like historical moments.
I love that.
But in like a Gen Z millennial way. Like the Lewis and Clark expedition. They're like on the boat and Clark is like, Lewis, I'm hungry. Like, can we get the fuck out of here? And it's like
Gen Z history.
like,
I love that.
But like, or like also like, I love like there's so much history that when you read it or like watch it, you're like, wait, like where were the women? Like, what is this woman's POV? So it would be like a feminist like POV, obviously, but seeing the experience from like the woman's perspective, like the play 6, I don't know if you've seen it.
No, I haven't.
It's phenomenal, and it's basically
is that
about
the one that's the Tudor wives.
Yeah, about like Henry the 8th maybe or 6th. Oh no, he has 6 wives. And they all like they he beheaded like 2 of them, divorced 3, 1 whatever, and it was from the women's POV, and just that like also inspired me of like the like experience. But they made it into a musical. But I feel like mine would be more like skit related,
sketch, like yeah. I love it.
And just having like a few, like the whole cast would be women. We'll do the opposite of Shakespeare. We'll make the women, if they have to dress as a man to play off whatever, but just kind of like making it like a bit. And like I have been told when I'm like being like a silly girl acting, that I draw on accident from Alexis from Schitt's Creek. So my character would be like her. You know what I mean? Like when I'm like my true self, like sassy and just like kind of ditzy and like whatever, like that would be one character. There'd be like the straight person who like is like more forward, and just like the different dynamics. So again, this has been like a year.
I love it.
It also requires a lot more history, which I love history, but most of my history is in like European history, so I'd have to kind of decide if it's like American history, like how do we kind of do this.
But
really
I think
fun. In like today's time, like in American history, you can learn a lot from it, and also seeing like the holes that we're missing.
And John Leguizamo, I love that idea. I think that is so fun. I'm ready to see it already. But John Leguizamo did that with Latino history, because he made it like, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do actually.
Like Latin history for dummies.
Yeah.
And he did like the Netflix special, and then I got to see the live show too. It was really great. It was fantastic, and I learned so many things. Like he was talking about Puerto Rican history I didn't know about. Like there's so many things to uncover, and when you learn about it, you're like, oh my god. Scandalous.
No, literally. And I was at like the Lewis and Clark like expedition thing in Oregon last year, and I was just really reading everything, and I just like instantly had my like comedy like writer's brain, and I was like, oh my god, the fucking skits I could make out of this.
That's awesome.
So that was like the random like side, because I was just there and like inspired me, but I just feel like that can be like super fun.
Yeah, there's so much there.
Yeah, I just have to think of like location and stuff, but I think a web series could be cool.
Yeah. I also feel like the cool thing about like where we're at with media is we're so accepting of like any form of media.
Yeah, true.
Like especially for comedy's the best industry to be in because you don't really need high production value.
Totally, yeah.
And people will accept it, like TikTok, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like RIP, or I don't know if it's still around, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like people, if it's like 90-second film on your phone, people are like, yeah, cool, I'm into it.
No, literally. Yeah. So maybe I just brewed something.
Yeah, I love that.
Later.
Totally do it.
Thank you.
I'll be your first viewer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or maybe you'll be in it.
Like Clark.
You're like, I'm like, Clark, I'm gluten free. I can't eat this. What the fuck, Clark? There would have to be those jokes.
Yes,
like, come
definitely.
on. Because what were they eating at then? There was no way no one had fucking
had
stomach
corn.
issues. Okay, like, come on. What were they eating?
The gluten-free baddies back then.
Yeah, like, justice for them, because they were probably hurting.
Justice for the gluten-free baddies. Always.
Yeah,
in
life. Yeah, but especially back then, I'm like, no way, this is how this works.
I know. Can you imagine being like, well, did they have milk?
Well, there were cows.
There were cows? Because I was going to say, can you imagine being lactose intolerant?
There needs to be some research.
Have this straight up milk.
Oh my god, I would be like, wait, no almond milk? So there's lots to do. Clearly we need to do some research. Were there fucking cows back then? I would hope.
They're on the expedition with goat's milk.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Could be. So there's lots to learn from that, but just food for thought
from it as well.
Yeah, I literally might be posting in need for a historian
No,
to
actually,
come in.
Historians are dope because they just know everything.
Oh my god, I actually have like 2 friends who graduated with a history degree.
And also like historians, it's like, you know how people feel about like libraries where they're like, libraries are the most underused resource.
Yeah,
like,
dude, low key historians are too.
Like they have so much knowledge, and they're like really care about having things correct, which I appreciate so much. And like the guy who I talked to in Colorado, he was like, I'm not gonna like answer that because I don't don't know, you know. And
you're
I was like, oh,
can you just give me a guess? Like, I don't have time to go find it in the archives.
I was like, okay.
No, like I never like, okay, respect the hustle, I guess.
Exactly.
The mystery.
Yeah. But yeah, so shout out to historians.
Historians, hit me up.
Call Alyssa.
Please. That's hilarious. So yeah, maybe that'll come up later this year.
History.
Hashtag girls in history. Okay. So many jokes can be made from this. I love it. Okay, I'm excited now. I just got inspired.
Oh yeah, you should totally
I'm literally gonna
it's
DM
gold.
my historian friends.
Comedic gold.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Now, what is some advice you have for the young creatives or any creative who's starting off and need to make that jump? As we know, not everyone has the luxury or the privilege of having, someone to support you. So where would you say to start?
Yeah, I wish that someone had told me, like, believe in yourself and believe that it's possible. And it's so true what you said, like, not everybody has the privilege, not everybody has the support. That is, like, so real, and it's not to be undermined whatsoever. And at the same time, like, your dreams can absolutely come true. Anything is possible. Like, and I'm not saying that in an annoying, like, ignoring that money's a real thing. I'm just saying, like I said earlier, like, I don't think I found my true happiness until I started to go back to what I could not ignore in my soul.
Yeah.
And if there's something that you can ignore, don't ignore it. Listen to yourself and express yourself and be yourself, because that is truly like the greatest superpower that you have. Like, no one else is like you. And when you dig deep into yourself and you tell your story, or you use that like skill, that strength that like is your God-given talent, like that I think is the most joyous for me personally that I have felt, is like going back into acting and having those affirmations from my friends, from my collaborators, and definitely from the universe being like, yep, this is it, baby, you're doing it. That's what you're meant to do. So like, just, really trusting in that and pursuing it. And yes, things are hard. And like I said, like at the beginning, like black and white, like, like there's, everything is in balance. Not everything is like easy, and things are hard sometimes. But I also think that like, regardless of what career path you go into, it's going to be hard. So why not do the fun, hard one?
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Like, this is for any calling. If you're sitting in your room and you're like, oh my god, like I just want to go to med school. Like, go to med school. Like, obviously there's a lot to, lots of qualifications, whatever. But like, do the steps every day to make that happen. There's like this like concept of like doing 1% every day to take you closer to what, even if it's like literally, when Ariana Grande like auditioned for Wicked, she had to like change like her like basically like she had to relearn how to sing in like the correct range as like the original like Glenda, and every day she just did 1% better. She slept with a humidifier. It was one day. Then the next day she has a humidifier, and then she's drinking tea in the morning. The next day is humidifier, tea, and voice lessons, like whatever it is, but it's like one little thing. Even if you feel like it's literally like nothing, like turning on a humidifier, that takes you like 1% closer to the next version of yourself who's you're supposed to be.
Totally. Like, I totally agree with that, because also I think it helps with those of us who are like perfectionists, who feel like, oh my god, I can't put this out here until it's ready for the world to see. Like, that is so me. I have so many things that like I've even shot and that I haven't shown or whatever. And I like heard that 1% thing too. It's so helpful, because it's like, it's okay. Just, like get the progress out there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like, I think it's so cool that as artists we get to see each other like grow. And when you put your artwork out there or whatever, like you said, if it's like med school or whatever, when you put whatever you're working on out there and you let others see it, like, people appreciate watching you grow, and none of us are ever done. Always, like, we're always growing, we're always learning. And just like not feeling like, oh, I have to have it 100% done tomorrow. It can be just a little bit tomorrow. Like, that helps me so much. So I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, thank you. And as obviously a young woman kind of breaking into this field, do you feel like you ever have to prove yourself? I know. Right. It's like not even a question. Yeah, but can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I think like the cool thing, and again, like, this is why I don't regret that I worked in finance, because I learned about being an entrepreneur. Because people who are really wealthy in this world are entrepreneurs, and they own their own stuff. I didn't know that when that's something I wish someone would have told me. Is owning your own stuff is so important. And like, if you're always working for somebody else, you're always renting your time and essentially your life to somebody else. So I, like, coming out of the business world, was like, you know what, I'm not down for that. I'm gonna be the owner of my own destiny. And that just is so, like, I feel so free because of that. I feel so much more power over my own life because I'm the one who's making the film. I'm the one who's writing my own, like, stand-up routine or sketch or whatever. And I feel like that just lets me, one, do what I want, and two, be in charge of it. Control issues. But like, I feel like if I don't get cast in something, or if I don't get whatever this opportunity, it's such a competitive industry. Everybody's talented. Like, kudos to literally everyone. But I have something to fall back on, which is so nice. And that is me. So it's like, I'm betting on myself. And that helps to take the pressure off of things. And it helps for me to, like, be like, you know what, I'm crafting my own self-image. And it's whatever I want it to be.
And you can change it whenever you want. You can make it better, or whatever, whatever that looks like for you. I also think maybe without realizing you're working in finance also, gave you the grit of how to survive in a man's world.
Definitely.
Because people, like, get mad when I say that, but I'm like, we live in a man's world. Like, that's what, like, that's not like me, like, diminishing feminism or women who are in charge. Like, this world was built for a privileged, like, man. Do you know what I mean? Specifically privileged white man who like has that luxury of just living life without stress in the world, just because of just how they look or whatever.
And a lot of people are handed stuff because their dads knew how to make money, and their dads knew how to make money. And then when that's not your reality, like, you're like, how did you know that? That's crazy.
And I learned that too. I went to a college that was, I would say definitely higher middle class, or just upper class people, and I learned very quickly what privilege. I really got to see what privilege is. It's let's say you and I started work on the same day, the same job, same location, but this person started 10 steps ahead of me because they come from generational wealth. All their parents graduated. Both parents graduated from college. Every sibling went through to universities. They have a trust fund coming on the like. There's so many levels. When I'm first gen, I have not a single human I can ask for advice about college. I had to come in here and finesse and figure out my way. You know what I mean? So while we started class or work on the same exact day, in the same position, the same job, the backing of the other person is so much higher because they have that, and that's fine. Like, that's not me being mad or jealous or whatever. It's just like knowing your privilege and knowing, I guess, how to.
It's just kind of the reality.
Just knowing it is great. And then also knowing I'm privileged in places that others aren't. So how can I help other people who maybe don't have the resources? That, and, and whatever. But I grew up, watching my family grow and kind of come out of, I guess, poverty in a sense, not necessarily like within the generations. And so seeing that gives me the grit and understanding of like what it could be like, and how working for it, like, you are the only one who can save yourself type of thing too.
And there's this amazing book, it's called Leapfrog. It's exactly what you're talking about. It's written by I forget her name, she's like a Latina author, and she is talking about exactly that, where like there are people who have generations of privilege to get them really quickly to where they want to be, and then there are people who do not have that, and it is good to take advantage of things that she calls like leapfrogging, which is like take the shortcut. because that's what other people are doing.
Totally.
And so if you can find that shortcut, there is no shame in your game.
Yeah.
Which for me, that's why I'm like, I'm going to be the boss right away.
Totally.
I'm not going to work into being the boss. I'm going to be my own boss to start, so I don't have to spend, I don't know, 5 years or whatever working my way up in a production ladder or something. I'm just going to be like, because like Issa Rae did that, you know, she made her own cast and then ended up on HBO.
Yeah.
That's a freaking leapfrog.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
And so, yeah, it is like, I appreciate you saying that about like, I did learn that in finance and I did see that stuff and I was like, I got to make this work for me.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be the same path. I don't know what that path is, but I'm going to figure it out because I'm resilient and resourceful.
Period. I love that. That's so good. I love that. Resilient and resourceful. Oh my God, I love that. Okay, there were lots of gems dropped today. Before I ask my final question, is there anything else you want to say or plug?
Oh my gosh, I feel like we've said so much.
I know.
I feel just like so full and happy. And I feel like the last thing is just like this year I just want to embrace like joy and love. I feel like it's, you know, we're in tough times.
Yeah.
And it's just important to remember that there is so much like love from our fellow human beings. Like there is so much like camaraderie, so much collaboration, like so much that we do have in common with each other. And I'm really trying to lean into that this year and uplift like positivity and like remember again back to like the black and white things. My era is like there is a lot of light, there is like abundance still. And just like leaning into that and manifesting it and harnessing it and like using it to make my dreams come true.
Yes. That's a good reminder. Thank you for sharing that. Now, last question. You have little baby 16-year-old Joelle in front of you. What would you tell her?
I would tell her, go be the bad bitch that you're meant to be.
I love that. Period. That's enough within himself to figure it out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cute. Well, thank you, Joelle. I will plug like your Instagram and stuff in the description, as well as, you know, on Instagram I'll be tagging, collabing, all the things. But thank you for being here.
Thank you. This was so much fun. And kudos to you for like having your pod, having your platform.
Thank you.
I love to see it. I love to see the Latinos succeeding. Anybody like support Alyssa, go get it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, seriously. And thank you for being here, making the time to chat with me today. Everyone, go give some love to Joelle and, of course, support her on her little creative journey. So thank you for being here, everyone. You know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, post, repost, share, tell your mom, tell the boys, tell the girls, tell everyone about the On to the Next podcast. I do this it just like, it becomes like a little rap. At this point, I'm rapping. Right. Thank you for being here, and I cannot wait to see you when we are on to the next episode next week. Bye.
Bye.